Begin our story at the start of the Anderson versus Criovo case.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's a city north of Boston. The name of that city is Woburn. Woburn is like many other cities. It has homes, schools, churches, industry. But Woburn has something else. It has more than its share of sickness and death. These families in this case face disproportionate amounts of leukemia. This is because of the likes of W.R. Grace and Beatrice Foods. I will prove the wrongdoing these companies have committed, dumping toxic solvents into the city's water, hurting people.
W.R. Grace did jump TCE in small amounts, but it was never enough to reach Wells G&H to contaminate the city's water.
Go.
The land is contaminated today, but that is not the fault of Beatrice Foods. The leukemia had never been linked to TCE until Schlickman bought a California expert who testified dozens of times.
I have to prove W.R. Grace and Beatrice responsible for contamination. I will call 30 witnesses, but rely on the testimony of Drabinski, a geologist, whom would describe the extent of the TCE contamination by W.R. Grace and Beatrice Foods, and the testimony of Pinder, a Princeton professor and authority of the subject of groundwater.
Presented diagrams of the acres around the tanneries and had Dr. Drobinski, the geologist, take the witness stand. The days would go on, with Thatcher directly talking to the judge and the W.R. Grace lawyers discussing amongst each other, leaving the jury and Drobinski bored from not being interacted with.
To put on record an objection to Beatrice's efforts to break up the flow of the case and to delay this trial in every conceivable way.
3.
Your Honor, I'd like to put on record an objection to Beatrice's efforts to break up the flow of the case and to delay this trial in every conceivable way.
I would agree, except that I think you invited this kind of thing by pushing for a trial when you weren't ready.
The evident waste let out by the tanneries shows the contamination. It is in the land around Woburn and had contaminated the wells that fed into the city.
No one can say with scientific certainty the wells had been contaminated with TCE back then. Someone could easily have come into the property in 1979 after the wells had closed and dumped TCE into the piles. This is all opinionated, so I request Your Honor to exclude Dombrowski's opinion and thus end the case against Beatrice Foods.
3. Go.
Such a ruling would be a grave and costly mistake. They would surely be reversed by the courts of appeals, as Dombrowski meets all proper qualifications as an expert.
This had saved the case against Beatrice Foods. Thatcher continued to rant on Drobinski, questioning his degree in geology. A few days later, Schlickman put Riley on the witness stand. Schlickman gave him a document, hoping he would falter.
No, sir. I've never been there.
Schlickman questioned Riley extensively with no success. Then the next few days, some success is reached. Thatcher then cross-examined Riley, which brought interesting results.
Is it me? Draw.
Has any sludge been dumped on the 15 acres?
No, never.
Schlickman worked off of Riley's anger to fluster him further.
Has any sludge been dumped on those 15 acres that you're aware of?
No, never.
Schlickman worked off of Riley's anger to fluster him further. Afterwards, Schlickman began his case against W.R. Grace by using former employees on the witness stand. One witness was Barbos, who at this point is running down.
Marble, shout us if you are outdoors.
I used to place the material on the ground and let it dry.
But you dumped it once or twice a week.
Yes.
Even with this obvious evidence present, the trial continued on and seemed to blur more and more together the longer it lasted.